So the short answer to that question is yes. If we think about what has happened since the start of the full-scale war in Ukraine on February 24th, it arguably started with a nuclear threat from Vladimir Putin, because that day he warned of consequences such as you have never seen to anyone who stood in Russia's way, which was broadly understood to be a nuclear threat. And then September of that same year, he talked about nuclear weapons and about Russia's willingness to defend its territorial integrity with all the systems available, as he talked about planning to annex parts, as it turned out, all 4 Ukrainian regions that were partially, not fully occupied by Russian forces and continue to be. Now, I think what's interesting is later that year in October, Moscow believed Ukraine planned to use a quote unquote dirty bomb on its own territory, which is something Ukraine had neither really the capacity nor the will to do, but it led people to worry that Russia might be laying groundwork for nuclear use against Ukraine, kind of creating an argument for it. And again, here what's interesting is that later that same month, Putin, speaking at a conference, actually said he saw no reason for anyone to use nuclear weapons in this war, and that Russia was going to resort to nuclear use only in accordance with its military doctrine to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity, and, as he said, to ensure the safety of the Russian people. He did talk about, in December of that same year, about the risk of nuclear war rising, but again said that he saw Russia's nuclear arsenal as primarily deterrent. So, kind of at that point, he seemed to be trying to convince the world that Moscow wasn't the one threatening nuclear war, but also reminding everybody that Russia had nuclear weapons. So that was 2022. In 2023, Russia announced that it had placed nuclear weapons in Belarus. It ceased implementation of the New START Treaty, which places limits on US and Russian nuclear weapons. Now, what Russia meant by ceasing implementation was ending notifications and verification. Russia said it would stay below the treaty limits, and so far as we know, it has. Russia also de-ratified the Test Ban Treaty. And I think the other interesting thing that happened in 2023 was this lively debate amongst civilian analysts, Russian civilian analysts, about the possibility of nuclear use, which Putin then came into and sounded this calming note, saying that he saw no reason to lower Russia's nuclear threshold, as some of the articles written in this debate suggested. So on the one hand, you have Putin and his government consistently reminding everyone that Russia could use nuclear weapons, that there is a risk of nuclear war, that getting into Russia's way is dangerous. But at the same time, you periodically have Putin coming out and being kind of the calm voice that suggests that no, nobody should do anything crazy. We're not quite at that point yet.